Hi, hello there, and welcome back to Formula Amateur, where today we are discussing the results of the Monza Grand Prix in Italy. We are talking all about Formula 3, Formula 2, and concluding with Formula 1. This will be the final episode, which includes Formula 3, as their championship has ended during this race. So we will pick up with Formula 3 in 2026. So let's get on with it. So let's start with the practice session. So in first we had Ugachukwu with 13 laps. In second we had Solov with 12 laps. In third we had Leon with 13 laps. In fourth we had Voisin with 11 laps. Niel in fifth with 14 laps. Zagazeta with 10 laps in sixth. In Vasak in 7th with 11 laps, Boyer in 8th with 11 laps, Stromsted in 9th with 11 laps, Sharp in 10th with 11 laps, Van Hopen in 11th with 12 laps, Badua in 12th with 13 laps, Tappanen in 13th with 11 laps, Johnson in 14th with 13 laps, Stenshorn in 15th with 12 laps, G in 16th with 12 laps, Ho in 17th with 12 laps, Kamara in 18th with 11 laps, Dominguez in 19th with 15 laps, Justy in 20th with 16 laps, Tramnitz in 21st with 17 laps, Benavides in 22nd with 11 laps, Vers in 23rd with 11 laps, Headley in 24th with 15 laps, Mariangeli in 25th with 13 laps, Del Pino in 26th with 16 laps, Belinsky in 27th with 4 laps, and then Barrichello in 28th with 12 laps, Wharton in 29th with 12 laps, and Lacorte in 30th with 13 laps. So the starting grid for the sprint looked like this. It was Stromsted in first, Boyer in second, Vasak in third, Ugachukwu in fourth, Vers in fifth, Dominguez in 6th, Stenshorn in 7th, Tappanen in 8th, Zagazeta in 9th, Solov in 10th, in 11th we had Leon, and then 12th Benavides, in 13th Belinsky, in 14th we had Niel, in 15th we had Justy, in 16th we had Tramnitz, in 17th we had Van Hopen, in 18th we had Sharp, in 19th we had Badua, in 20th we had G, in 21st we had Del Pino, in 22nd we had Johnson, in 23rd we had Barrichello, in 24th we had Ho, in 25th we had Voisin, in 26th we had Wharton, in 27th we had Headley, in 28th we had Lacorte, in 29th we had Mariangeli, and in 30th we had the champion Kamara. So the sprint race looked like this. Tramnitz was originally first, but he was demoted due to gaining a penalty. But originally he did gain 15 places. So Belinsky, who was in second, inherited the win. So he originally gained 11 positions, but in actual fact he gained 12. And then in third we had Stenshorn, who gained 4 positions. In fourth we had Van Hopen, who gained 13 positions. In fifth we had Zagazeta, who gained 4 positions. In 6th we had Boyer, who lost 4 positions. In 7th we had Justy, who gained 8 positions. In 8th we had Leon, who gained 3 positions, but he was also penalised. In 9th we had Voisin, who gained 16 positions. In 10th we had Stromsted, who lost 9 positions. In 11th we had Ugachukwu, who lost 7 positions. In 12th we had Kamara, who gained 18 positions. In 13th we had Niel, who gained 1 position. In 14th we had Tappanen, who lost 6 positions. In 15th we had Vasak, who lost 12 positions. In 16th we had Johnson, who lost 2 positions. In 17th we had Del Pino, who gained 9 positions. In 18th we had G, who gained 2 positions. In 19th we had Wharton, who gained 7 positions. In 20th we had Barrichello, who gained 3 positions. In 21st, we had Mariangeli, who gained 8 positions. In 22nd, we had Sharp, who lost 4 positions. In 23rd, we had Solov, who lost 13 positions. In 24th, we had Ho, who stayed in the same place. In 25th, we had Headley, who gained 2 positions. In 26th, we had Benavides, who lost 14 positions. In 27th, we had Badua, who lost 8 positions. In 28th, we had Lacorte, who stayed in the same place. And then Verse in 29th, who lost 24 positions due to him having a DNF, and in 30th we had Dominguez, who lost 24 positions as well due to a DNF. So now let's look at the qualifying for the feature race. So the qualifying for the feature race, in first we had Benavides, who gained 21 places from the practice session, Leon, who gained 1 position in second, Solov, who dropped 1 position in third, Zagazeta, who was in fourth, who gained 2 positions. In fifth, we had Tappinen, who gained 8 positions. In sixth, we had Stenshorn, who gained 9 positions. In seventh, we had Dominguez, who gained 12 positions. In eighth, we had Verse, who gained 15 positions. In ninth, we had Ugochukwu, who lost 8 positions. In 10th, we had Infrafu Vasak, who dropped 3 positions. In 11th, we had Boyer, who lost 3 positions. In 12th, we had Stromsted, who dropped 3 positions. In 13th, we had Belinsky, who gained 14 positions. In 14th, we had Niel, who dropped 9 positions. In 15th, we had Justy, who gained 5 positions. In 16th, we had Tramnitz, who gained 5 positions. In 17th, we had Van Hopen, who lost 7 positions. In 18th, we had Sharp, who lost 8 positions. In 19th, we had Badua, who lost 7 positions. In 20th, we had G, who lost 4 positions. In 21st, we had Del Pino, who gained 5 positions. In 22nd, we had Johnson, who dropped 8 positions. In 23rd, we had Barrichello, who gained 5 positions. In 24th, we had Ho, who dropped 7 positions. In 25th, we had Voisin, who dropped 21 positions. In 26th, we had Wharton, who gained 3 positions. In 27th, we had Headley, who lost 3 positions. In 28th, we had Lacorte, who gained 2 positions. In 29th, we had Mariangeli, who lost 4 positions. And in 30th, we had Kamara, who dropped 12 positions. So now let's talk about the feature race, shall we? So the race for Formula 3, the feature race, in first we had Infrafu Vasak, who gained 9 positions. In second, we had Solov, who gained 1 position. In third, we had Leon, who lost 1 position. In fourth, we had Benavides, who lost 3 positions. In fifth, we had Kamara, who gained 25 positions. In sixth, we had Stromsted, who gained 6 positions. In seventh, we had Belinsky, who gained 6 positions. In eighth, we had Justy, who gained 7 positions. In ninth, we had Boyer, who gained 2 positions. In 10th, we had Tramnitz, who gained 6 positions. In 11th, we had Del Pino, who gained 10 positions. In 12th, we had Voisin, who gained 13 positions. In 13th, we had Ho, who gained 11 positions. In 14th, we had Badua, who gained 5 positions. In 15th, we had Tappinen, who lost 10 positions. In 16th, we had Wharton, who gained 10 positions. In 17th, we had Headley, who gained 10 positions. In 18th, we had Niel, who lost 4 positions. In 19th, we had Mariangeli, who gained 10 positions. In 20th, we had Johnson, who gained 2 positions. In 21st, we had Stenshorn, who lost 15 positions. In 22nd, we had Lacorte, who gained 6 positions. In 23rd, we had Van Hopen, who lost 6 positions. In 24th, we had Dominguez, who had a DNF and dropped 17 positions. In 25th, we had Zagazeta, who had a DNF and dropped 21 positions. In 26th, we had Sharp, who had a DNF and lost 8 positions. In 27th, we had Ugochukwu, who had a DNF and dropped 18 positions. In 28th, we had Barrichello, who had a DNF and dropped 5 positions. In 29th, we had G, who had a DNF and dropped 9 positions. And in 30th, we had Worse, who had a DNF and lost 22 positions. So now let's look at the final standings for the F3 championship, shall we? So the final standings for Formula 3, in first we had Kamara with 166 points. In second we had Solov, who had 124 points, that's a 42 points difference. And then Boyer in third with 116, so that's an 8 points difference. In fourth we had Tramnitz with 94 points, that's a 22 points difference. In fifth, we had Stenshorn with 89 points, that's 5 points difference. In sixth, we had Stromsted with 84, that's another 5 points difference. In seventh, we had Infrafu Vasak with 74 points, that's 10 points difference. In eighth, we had Niel with 72 points, that's a 2 points difference. In 9th we had Tappanen with 67, that's a 5 points difference. In 10th we had Justy with 67, so that's no difference to Tappanen. In 11th we had Belinsky with 65, that's a 2 points difference. In 12th we had Van Hopen with 60 points, that's a 5 points difference. In 13th we had Verse with 53 points, that's a 7 points difference. In 14th we had Voisin with 52 points, that's a 1 points difference. In 15th we had Ramos with 48, that's 4 points difference. In 16th we had Ugachukwu who had 43 points, that's 5 points difference. In 17th we had Leon with 36 points, that's a 7 points difference. In 18th we had Wharton with 25 points, that's an 11 points difference. In 19th we had Benavides with 18 points, and that's a 7 points difference. In 20th we had Dominguez with 18 points, and that's no points difference to Benavides. In 21st we had Bedrin with 17 points, that's a 1 points difference. In 22nd we had Her with 17 points, that's no difference to Bedrin. In 23rd we had Del Pino with 16 points, that's 1 points difference. In 24th we had Badua with 13 points, that's 3 points difference. In 25th we had Zagazeta with 13 points, that's no points difference to Badua. In 26th we had Sharp with 11 points, that's 2 points difference. And then in 27th we had Slater with 10 points, that's 1 points difference. In 28th we had Headley with 7 points, that's a 3 points difference. In 29th we had G with 1 point, that's a 6 points difference. In 30th we had Dufek with 0 points, and that's a 1 points difference. And then Lacorte, Carrasquedo, Johnson, Sagarera, Barrichello, Mariangeli and Garfias were all no point scorers throughout the whole entire season. So where does this lead the teams? Well, Campos Racing won the team standings with 314 points, Trident 11 points behind in 303 points, MP Motorsport with 177 points, that's 126 points behind, and then Art Grand Prix with 152 points, that's 25 points difference. Van Amersfoort Racing with 138, that's 14 points difference. Roden with Racing with Roden Motorsport with 128 points, that's a 10 points difference. Prima Racing with 92 points, that's a 36 points difference. High Tech TGR with 90 points, that's a 2 points difference. AIX Racing with 52 points, that's 38 points difference. And Dams Lucas Oil with 30 points, and that's a 22 points difference to AIX Racing. So that was Formula 3 for 2025. So let's start off with the Formula 2 practice session, where Verschoor had 14 laps and was first, Browning in second with 18 laps, third we had Dunn with 15 laps, fourth we had Goethe with 14 laps, fifth we had Miney with 15 laps, sixth we had Martin with 17 laps, in seventh we had Bogdanovic with 18 laps, in 8th we had Lindblad with also 18 laps, in 9th we had Crawford with 15 laps, in 10th we had Cordial with 15 laps, in 11th we had Pepe Marti with 17 laps, in 12th we had Mini with 14 laps, in 13th we had Miata with 14 laps, in 14th we had Montoya with 15 laps, in 15th we had Shields with 19 laps, in 16th we had Bennett with 16 laps, in 17th we had Dirksen with 18 laps, in 18th we had Megatunov with 16 laps, in 19th we had Esterson with 16 laps, in 20th we had Villa Gomez with 18 laps, in 21st we had Stanek with 13 laps, and in 22nd we had Fornaroli with 16 laps. So what was the starting grid for the sprint? So it was Bogdanovic in first, followed by Megatunov in second, in third we had Fornaroli, in fourth we had Dirksen, in fifth we had Lindblad, in sixth we had Dunn, in seventh we had Goethe, in eighth we had Stanek, in ninth we had Miney, in 10th we had Browning, in 11th we had Crawford, in 12th we had Martin, in 13th we had Marti, in 14th we had Verschoor, who crashed and as a result dropped several places. In 15th we had Mini, in 16th we had Villa Gomez, in 17th we had Bennett, in 18th we had Mayata, in 19th we had Shields, in 20th we had Cordial, in 21st we had Montoya, and in 22nd we had Esterson. So how did the first race for Formula 2 pan out? Well, Fornaroli gained 2 positions and won the race. In second, we had Lindblad, who gained 3 positions. In third, we had Dirksen, who gained 1 position. In fourth, we had Verschoor, who gained 10 positions. In fifth, we had Stanek, who gained 3 positions. In sixth, we had Bogdanovic, who lost 5 positions. In seventh, we had Mini, who gained 8 positions. In eighth, we had Browning, who gained 2 positions. In ninth, we had Marti, who gained 4 positions. In 10th, we had Montoya, who gained 11 positions. In 11th, we had Dunn, who dropped 5 positions and was severely penalised due to crashing into 2 people. In 12th, we had Mayata, who gained 6 positions. In 13th, we had Villagomez, who gained 3 positions. In 14th, we had Bennett, who gained 3 positions. In 15th, we had Shields, who gained 4 positions. In 16th, we had Crawford, who dropped 5 positions. In 17th, we had Cordial, who gained 3 positions. In 18th, we had Girth, who dropped 11 positions. In 19th, we had Martin, who lost 8 positions. In 20th, we have Esterson, who had a DNF but gained 2 positions anyway. In 21st, we had Megatunev, who dropped 20 positions as he crashed with Dunn, and in 22nd we had Miney, who lost 13 positions because he also crashed with Dunn. But where did the boys really qualify? Well, Browning qualified first, gaining 1 position from the practice session. Miney qualified second, he gained 3 positions. In third, Stanek, who gained 18 positions. In fourth, we had Goethe, who stayed in the same place. Then in fifth, we had Dunn, who lost 2 positions. In sixth, we had Lindblad, who gained 2 positions. In seventh, we have Dirksen, who gained 10 positions. In eighth, we had Fornaroli, who gained 14 positions. In ninth, we had Megatunev, who gained 9 positions. In 10th, we had Bogdanovic, who lost 3 positions. In 11th, we had Crawford, who lost 2 positions. In 12th, we had Martin, who lost 6 positions. In 13th, we had Marti, who lost 2 positions. In 14th, we had Verschoor, who lost 13 positions. In 15th, we had Mini, who lost 3 positions. In 16th, we had Villagomez, who gained 4 positions. In 17th, we had Bennett, who lost 1 position. In 18th, we had Miata, who lost 5 positions. In 19th, we had Shields, who lost 4 positions. In 20th, we have Cordial, who lost 10 positions. In 21st, we had Montoya, who lost 7 positions. And in 22nd, we had Esterson, who lost 3 positions. So how did the F2 race pan out? Well, Browning finished first, which is where he started, so he stayed in the same place. And in second, we had Dirksen, who gained 5 positions. In third, we had Marti, who gained 10 positions. In fourth, we had Villagomez, who gained 12 positions. In fifth, we had Fornaroli, who gained 3 positions. In sixth, we had Bogdanovic, who gained 4 positions. In seventh, we had Mini, who gained 8 positions. In eighth, we had Verschoor, who gained 6 positions. In ninth, we had Montoya, who gained 12 positions. In 10th, we had Bennett, who gained 7 positions. In 11th, we had Crawford, who stayed where he was. And then in 12th, we had Maney, who dropped 10 positions. In 13th, we had Cordial, who gained 7 positions. In 14th, we had Miata, who gained 4 positions. In 15th, we had Esterson, who gained 7 positions. In 16th, we had Goethe, who dropped 12 positions. And then in 17th, we had Megatunev, who dropped 8 positions as a result of a DNF. In 18th, we had Martins, who lost 7 positions due to a DNF. In 19th, we had Lindblad, who lost 13 positions due to a DNF, and he was penalised as well. And in 20th, we had Stanek, who lost 17 positions due to a DNF. In 21st, we had Shields, who lost 2 positions as a result of a DNF. And then Dunn, who finished 22nd, he lost 17 positions due to a DNF. It was a very DNF heavy race because it's very tight in Monza. It's crazy, the turns, it's the temple of speed, and that's how things pan out. So now let's talk about the standings. So the Formula 2 drivers' standings: Fornaroli is in first with 174 points. In second, we have Browning with 153, that's a 21 points difference. In third, we have Verschoor with 144, so that's a 9 points difference. In fourth, we have Crawford, who has 137, that's a 7 points difference. In fifth, we have Dunn, who has 124, that's 13 points difference. In sixth, we have Marti with 112, and that's 12 points difference. In 7th we have Lindblad with 101, that's 11 points difference. In 8th we have Stanek with 81 points, that's a 20-point difference. In 9th we have Montoya with 74 points, that's a 7 points difference. In 10th we have Boganovic with 70 points, that's a 4 points difference. In 11th we have Martins with 69 points, that's 1 point difference. In 12th we have Dirksen with 47 points, that is a 22 points difference. And then in 13th we have Mini with 43 points, that's a 4 points difference. In 14th we have Miney with 26, that is a 17 points difference. In 15th we have Mayata with 25 points, that's 1 point difference. In 16th we had Villagomez with 23 points, that's a 2 points difference. In 17th we have Goethe with 23 points, that's no points difference to Villagomez. In 18th we have Cordial with 3 points, that's a 20 points difference. In 19th we have Megatunov with 2 points, that's a 1 points difference. In 20th we have Bennett with 1 point, that's a 1 points difference. In 21st we have Esterson with 0 points, that's a 1 points difference. And in 22nd we have Shield, who has the same amount as Esterson. And now in terms of teams, in first we have Invicta Racing with 255 points, followed by High-Tech TGR with 223 points, that's a 32 points difference. And then in third we have Campos Racing with 213 points, that's a 10 points difference. And then in fourth we have MP Motorsports with 167 points, that's a 46 points difference. In 11th we have Dams Lucas Oil with 163, that's a 4 points difference. In 6th we have Roda Motorsport who have 127 points, that's a 36 points difference. In 7th we have Prima Racing with 117 points, that's a 10 points difference. In 8th we have Arc Grand Prix with 94 points, that's a 23 points difference. In 9th we have AIX Racing with 47 points, that's a 47 points difference. In 10th we have Van Amersfoort Racing with 24 points, that's a 23 points difference. And in 11th we have Trident who have 2 points, and that's a 22 points difference. So now we move on to Formula 1 and FP1, where we had 2 people being temporarily replaced by other rookies or non-Formula 1 racers as a result of the requirements of putting a non-current Formula 1 driver in place of a driver. So in 20th we had Paul Aaron, who was in for Colapinto with 23 laps. In 19th we had Behrman with 23 laps. In 18th we had Gasly with 26 laps. In 17th we had Ocon with 22 laps. In 16th we had done for Piastri with 26 laps. In 15th we had Stroll with 26 laps. In 14th we had Tsunoda with 24 laps. In 13th we had Lawson with 27 laps. In 12th we had Hulkenberg with 26 laps. In 11th we had Bortoleto with 24 laps. In 10th we had Hadjar with 25 laps. In 9th we had Alonso with 20 laps. In 8th we had Russell with 20 laps. In 7th we had Albon with 25 laps. In 6th we had Norris with 28 laps. In 5th we had Antonelli with 25 laps. In 4th we had Verstappen with 22 laps. In 3rd we had Sainz with 25 laps. In 2nd we had Leclerc with 24 laps. And in 1st we had Hamilton with 20 laps. So in FP2 then, in 20th position we had Colapinto with 29 laps, and he stayed where Paul Aaron finished. And then in 19th we had Antonelli with 4 laps because he beached himself again, so he lost 14 positions. In 18th we had Gasly again with 29 laps, so he stayed where he was. In 17th we had Lawson with 24 laps, he dropped 4 positions. In 16th we had Ocon, who gained 1 position and had 28 laps. In 15th we had Alonso with 25 laps, and he lost 6 positions. In 14th we had Behrman with 28 laps, and he gained 5 positions. In 13th we had Stroll with 27 laps, and he gained 2 positions. In 12th we had Bortoleto with 24 laps, he lost 1 position. In 11th we had Hadjar with 23 laps, he lost 1 position. In 10th we had Russell with 28 laps, he lost 2 positions. In 9th we had Tsunoda with 27 laps, and he gained 5 positions. In 8th we had Hulkenberg with 26 laps, he gained 4 positions. In 7th we had Albon with 27 laps, he stayed where he was. In 6th we had Verstappen with 26 laps, he lost 2 positions. In 5th we had Hamilton with 25 laps, he lost 4 positions. In 4th we had Piastri with 28 laps, he gained 12 positions to where Dunn left off. And then in 3rd we had Sainz with 29 laps, he stayed in 3rd. In 2nd we had Leclerc, who did 28 laps, and he stayed in 2nd. And in 1st we had Norris, who gained 5 positions and had 27 laps. So in FP3 then, in 20th positions we had Ocon with 20 laps and he lost 4 positions. In 19th we had Stroll with 22 laps and lost 6 positions. In 18th we had Gasly with 23 points. He stayed where he was yet again. In 17th we had Behrman with 22 laps. He lost 3 positions. In 16th we had Lawson with 14 laps. He gained 1 position. In 15th we had Tsunoda, who did 24 laps and lost 6 positions. In 14th we had Colapinto, who did 22 laps and gained 6 positions. In 13th we had Sainz with 23 laps and he lost 10 positions. In 12th we had Alonso with 19 laps and he gained 3 positions. In 11th we had Hülkenberg with 18 laps, he lost 3 positions. In 10th we had Albon with 22 laps and he lost 3 positions. In 9th we had Antonelli with 23 laps and he gained 10 positions because he didn't beat himself this time. In 8th we had Hadjar with 20 laps and he gained 3 positions. In 7th we had Hamilton with 22 laps, he lost 2 positions. In 6th we had Bortoleto with 18 laps, he gained 6 positions. In 5th we had Russell with 19 laps, he gained 5 positions. In 4th we had Verstappen with 18 laps, he gained 2 positions. In 3rd we had Piastri with 21 laps, he gained 1 position. In 2nd we have Leclerc with 24 laps, so he stayed yet again in 2nd. And in 1st we had Norris with 21 laps and he stayed where he was as well. So now on to qualifying, where we have in 20th position Lawson, who dropped 4 positions, but in the end he started 18th due to a few pit lane starts. In 19th we had Gasly, who lost 1 position, but he started 20th as he had a pit lane start. In 18th we had Colapinto, who dropped 4 positions but eventually started 17th. In 17th we have Stroll, who as a result of the pit lane starts started 16th but gained 2 positions. In 16th we had Hadjar, who lost 8 positions and had a pit lane start, so he started technically 19th. In 15th we have Ocon, who gained 5 positions. In 14th we had Albon, who lost 4 positions. In 13th we have Sainz, who stayed in 13th. And then 12th, Hülkenberg, who lost 1 position. In 11th we have Behrman, who gained 6 positions. In 10th we have Hamilton, who qualified 5th, and but he had a penalty from Zandvoort due to the fact that he ignored yellow flags and failed to stop in time. But technically he gained 2 positions from where he was, but dropped 3 positions to where he should have been. In 8th we have Alonso with who gained 4 positions. In 7th we have Bortoleto, who dropped 1 position. In 6th we have Antonelli, who gained 3 positions. In 5th we have Russell, who stayed in 5th. In 4th we have Leclerc, who dropped 2 positions. In 3rd we have Piastri, who stayed in 3rd. In 2nd we have Norris, who lost 1 position, and Verstappen in 1st, who gained 3 positions. So how did the F1 race pan out? Well, in 20th and last we have Hülkenberg, who could not start the race, so as a result he dropped 8 positions into 20th. In 19th we have Alonso, who dropped 10 positions as a result of a DNF due to an engine failure. In 18th we have Stroll, who lost 2 positions to where he qualified, but due to the pit lane starts he essentially lost 1 position. And then in 17th we have Colapinto, who would have gained 1 position as a result of the start with the pit lane starts, but ultimately gained nothing. In 16th we have Gasly, who would have gained 3 positions if it wasn't for the fact that he had a pit lane start, so actually he gained 4 positions. And then in 15th we have Ocon, who stayed in 15th, did not gain or lose anything. In 14th we have Lawson, who would have gained 4 positions had it not been for the fact that he would have started 20th, but actually he started 18th and ultimately gained 6 positions. And then in 13th we have Tsunoda, who lost 4 positions. In 12th we have Behrman, who lost 1 position. In 11th we have Sainz, who gained 2 positions. In 10th we have Hadjar, who would have gained just 6 positions, but because he started 19th as a result of a pit lane start, he gained 9 positions. In 9th we have Antonelli, who lost 3 positions. In 8th we have Bortoleto, who lost 1 position. In 7th we have Albon, who gained 7 positions. In 6th if it hadn't been for his penalty, he would have lost 1 position, but in actual fact he gained 4 positions, and that's Hamilton. In 5th we have Russell, who stayed in 5th yet again. In 4th we have Leclerc, who stayed in 4th, and in 3rd we have Piastri, who stayed in 3rd. In 2nd we have Norris, who stayed in 2nd, and then in 1st we have Verstappen, who stayed in 1st. So now let's get on to the side stuff. So how do the drivers' standings look like? Well, in 1st, once again, we have Piastri, who has now 324 points, followed by Norris in 2nd with 293 points. That's a 31 points deficit compared to the 34 that were there last week. And then in 3rd, we have Verstappen, who has 230. That's a 63 points difference. In 4th, we have Russell with 194. That's a 36 points difference. In 5th, we have Leclerc with 163. That's a 31 points difference. In 6th, we have Hamilton with 117. That's a 46 points difference. In 7th, we have Albon with 70 points. That's a 47 points difference. In 8th, we have Antonelli with 66 points. That's a 16 points difference. In 9th, we have Hadjar with 38 points. That's a 28 points difference. In 10th, we have Hulkenberg with 37 points. That's a 1 points difference. In 11th, we have Stroll with 32 points. That's a 5 points difference. In 12th, we have Alonso with 30 points. That's a 2 points difference. In 13th, we have Ocon with 28 points. That's a 2 points difference. In 14th, we have Gasly with 20 points. That's an 8 points difference. In 15th, we have Lawson with 20 points. That's 0 points difference to Gasly. In 16th, we have Bortoleto with 18 points. That's a 2 points difference. In 17th, we have Behrman with 16 points. That's a 2 points difference. In 18th, we have Sainz, who also has 16 points, so that's 0 points difference to Behrman. And then in 19th, we have Tsunoda with 12 points. That's a 4 points difference. And in 20th, we have Colapinto, who has 0 points, so that's a 12 points difference. And in 21st, once again, we have Doohan, who hasn't driven since Miami and is still on 0 points and hasn't driven since, so that is a 0 points difference compared to Colapinto, who was his replacement. So now we are talking about the team standings, and once again, in first we have McLaren with 617 points this time, and in second we have Ferrari with 280 points, so that's a 337 points difference to McLaren. In third we have Mercedes with 260 points, that's 20 points difference. In fourth we have Red Bull with 239 points, that's a 21 points difference. In fifth we have Williams with 86 points, that's 153 points difference. In sixth we have Aston Martin with 62 points, that's a 24 points difference. In seventh we have Racing Bulls with 61 points, that's a 1 points difference. In eighth we have Kick Sauber with 55 points, that's a 6 points difference. In ninth we have Haas with 44 points, that's an 11 points difference. And last but not least is Alpine with 20 points, and that's a 24 points difference compared to Haas. So that is that for Monza. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Formula Amateur, and thank you for listening to another episode of the Race Rundown. This one was about Monza. The next one will be about Baku, which is in 2 weeks' time, so be aware of that. So there won't be a Race Rundown episode next Monday. I will see you on Saturday for another episode of Formula Amateur. Please check out my lovely colleagues on the Be The Change Media Network. Check out our website, BeTheChangeMediaNetwork.com. Hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I'll see you on Saturday. Goodbye.